The movie opens with a little girl in a dormant state underwater. The little girl, named Nemo, then wakes up to the sound of a conch shell. This signals to her that her father Peter is home. She runs to meet him on the docks and climbs on his back to offer help. They had breakfast and then went sailing. Peter teaches her everything about the lighthouse along with her schoolwork. That night she went to bed without her stuffed pig because she was now 11. She asked Peter to tell her a story as he was about to leave. Peter told her of an adventure with Flip and himself. Flip wanted to find some magic pearl that could grant any wish. These pearls were only located in the Sea of Nightmares. Peter refused as he knew it was dangerous, but Flip knocked on the wood twice and Peter had to go with him as it was the outlaw code to help a mate out if this was done. The story went on and Nemo was starting to get scared as the shadows started to look like a kraken. Suddenly, an alert came in on the radio and Peter had to go to help a small vessel in trouble at sea. As she went for her stuffed pig, Peter ran out to his boat in the rain and left. Suddenly, the windows got frosty and the house became Antarctic cold. As she left the lighthouse, a huge wave came and broke down the building and washed her into the sea. Under the water, she reoriented herself as she saw her father's boat head sink. Shortly afterward, her father began swimming towards her and was about to grab her hand when the same kraken-looking monster snatched him away from her. She jumped up only to realize it was a dream. Nemo jumped out of bed and was greeted by Carla, who broke the news of her father's death. The scene changed to Carla being on the phone with a family member of Nemo. We later found out it was his estranged uncle who lived in the city. Peter had left instruction with Carla that his brother would be responsible for Nemo if the worst was to come. The day of the funeral, her uncle came to collect her. They arrived at a huge apartment in the city. Her uncle Philip has no knowledge of parenting, so he tries to find out what Nemo likes to do. He even shows her his doorknob collection since he was the owner of a company that sells doorknobs. Shortly afterwards, Philip took her to her room. Later that night, Nemo is awakened by her stuffed pig, named Pig, as it came to life, finding herself in Slumberland, the world between dreams. The bed began to grow longer legs, and she was brought back to the lighthouse by her animated bed. There Nemo meets Flip, an ill-mannered and unscrupulous outlaw. Nemo recognizes Flip as the character from the stories her father told. He claimed to be a former partner of her dad. Flip asked Nemo about a magical map, but Nemo was unaware of the map. Then he told her of a magical pearl that would allow her to see her dad again. However, Nemo was of no use to Flip since she was unaware of the map, so Flip pushed her out the window telling her to wake up. Nemo went to school for the first time in her life where Miss Aria, the guidance counselor, took her to her class. The kids laughed when they heard her name. Pig found the map the following night. She went to bed, and she woke and found it the following morning. Along with the map was a list of equipment she needed. She found the equipment, put them in her bag, and went to school. She found a desolate place in the basement of the school and set up camp. She goes to sleep with her equipment and the map in the basement behind some pipes. She then took it to Flip in the Slumberland, but Flip refused to carry her with him, so she did the double knock. According to the outlaw code, Flip cannot refuse her request and has to take her with him. Flip told her the rule of the Dreamworld. Apparently, if you die in your dream, you wake up, but if you die in someone else's dream, you don't wake up ever. Flip checked her equipment, took off a piece from her ball of yarn and wrapped it around his finger. This will allow her to find him when she falls asleep. Flip tells Nemo that he has refused to wake up for so long he no longer remembers who he was when he was awake. He wants to use the map as a guide through various dreams to get to the seas of nightmare where the pearls are. Flip finds the first secret door that allows them to go into other people's dreams. After entering Salsa Lady's dream, the host called Agent Green of the Bureau of Subconscious Activities, BOSA, who wants to imprison Flip for never waking up and dream hopping. While Flip was dancing with Salsa Lady, Nemo began to freak out and the Cloud Kraken began to appear. As they were about to run to the next secret door, they were held up by Agent Green from BOSA. They escaped as a result of the Cloud Kraken destroying the dream. They quickly ran to another dream. Flip figured the creature appears whenever Nemo gets scared. She was awakened by a member of her class, and she faded from Slumberland. That day, Philip arranged with Carla to have the small sailboat sent to them. When Nemo saw it, she told Philip to send it back. Later that evening at the apartment, they sat and had dinner together. They began to fight when Philip mentioned her dad was shut off from the world when her mom died. Nemo then left for bed, but she could not fall asleep. She eventually fell asleep when she asked Philip to tell her a story. The yarn then fell out of her hand and led her straight to Flip. Flip hasn't woken up in a long time, and as a result he cannot remember who he is in the real world. Flip told Nemo when her dad quit. He just kept going and he hasn't woken since, but he cannot remember who he is as a result. He was trying to find the next door out of the second dream, which was made of glass buildings, but the door was always moving. He eventually figured it was in the garbage truck. They hopped on the back of the truck as it stopped to pick up a trash can, but Agent Green showed again. After some back and forth with Agent Green, they lost her because she had crashed in a glass building. But suddenly, the dream began to change into a nightmare. With both the nightmare and Agent Green on their tails, they got into the truck to see it was driven by an Asian boy no older than 7. Flip found the door in the dashboard of the truck, but it was locked. The truck ran over a ditch. The Asian driver died as he had disappeared, and they were left for dead in the water. Just before the Cloud Kraken could grab them, Nemo grabbed the loose key and opened the dash door. They get out of the truck through a tank in the bathroom stall. While in the next dream, Agent Green came and captured them. Agent Green can now retire after capturing the 28th most wanted criminal in Slumberland. They were taken to Dream Jail. Even Nemo was locked up. Flip assured her they were there for good. Flip then told her had forgotten who he was in the real world, and he wanted the pearl so he could remember. Shortly afterwards, Agent Green came back and released Nemo. Nemo was given 2 options: to stay in the Bosa juvenile prison or stay out of other people's dreams. She asked the agent to let her see her dad, but she was informed she only gets what she needs and that there were no pearls. It was only a myth, and she woke up. She went to speak with Philip as both of them could not sleep. Philip showed her videos of her dad and himself as boys. They were really close during their younger years. They shared many stories and adventures. Nemo saw a ball of yarn in the video and Philip told her he and Peter used it to find each other in their dreams. Nemo then figured out that Flip was his uncle's dream alter ego, but Flip was abandoned when Nemo's parents met. Nemo decided to go back for Flip, so she borrowed her Uncle Philip's lock-picking set. Nemo went to school that morning and walked past her classmate without engaging them. She headed straight to the basement where she had set up camp. She quickly ran through all the secret doors Flip had shown her. She turned the pipes the same way Agent Green did and went to the Bosa headquarters. She gave Flip a piece of the red yarn and quickly picked the locks. She pretended she was an agent from the juvenile headquarters to fool the other agents. Even roughing up Flip a bit, she was a tough cookie. They were caught by Agent Green once more, but this time they got the upper hand and outsmarted her and froze her. Flip then convinced her that the pearls were real because he and Peter saw them. Agent Green had stopped the elevator. Flip forced it open to a cold mountainous region, apparently in Canada. As they jumped on some giant geese to escape Green once more, Nemo tried to tell him that he was his uncle's alter ego, but failed on several occasions. They arrived at a cabin in a snowy field. The door was dark and scary, so Flip pushed Nemo in front of him. They exited the door to a broken-down lighthouse and rough seas like Nemo had dreamt the night her father died. The storm raged and the winds bellowed. Nemo outlined to Flip who he was in the waking world, but Flip was upset he was not an outlaw in the waking world and refused to take Nemo to the pearls. Miss Aria woke her in the waking world. The children she had run past in the hall led Miss Aria to the school basement. Miss Aria mediated a meeting between Philip and Nemo as they had another awkward exchange before going home. Just when we thought they would become close, Philip and Nemo got into a huge fight and Nemo went to her room, but she could not sleep. She decided to go home to the lighthouse. She went out and we realized it was a stormy night. She got into the small craft she had told Philip to send back in earlier scenes. Back at the house, Philip woke up and realized she was gone. He then called Carla and alerted her to the situation. She had sailed for some time because the lighthouse was now in sight. However, the wind blew the sail and it smacked her on the head, rendering her unconscious. She regained her consciousness, but this time she was in Slumberland. She saw a yellow glowing light in the distance, and she swam towards it to find her flashlight and pick. She then realized she was at the bottom of the Sea of Nightmare. The scene changed and Flip was having fun when a plane flew overhead, dropping off some notices. He became happier when he realized he was now the #1 wanted outlaw in Slumberland. He was inadvertently told by the pilot of the aircraft that he was the #1 most wanted for leaving a girl at the bottom of the seas of nightmare. The scene changed and Nemo and Pig went on searching for the pearls. She arrives at a sunken vessel resembling her father's boat. There she found the pearls in a crack in the bow. She could not reach them, so she sent Pig down to get one, and he did. Nemo felt a sudden jab, and the scene flashbacks to the real world. Her boat was caught on some reefs. She retrieved Pig and gave it a squeeze, and a pearl came out in her hand. While they're in awe, the cloud kraken was about to get her when Flip flew in, literally, to save her. Flip then flew out of the water, destroying the small cabin they had entered through in earlier scenes. Then they realized the cloud kraken was clinging onto the back of the plane. Flip apparently stole and was causing damage. They ran through all the dreams they had crashed, and all the dreamers began running with them as they were being chased by the cloud kraken. They crashed Salsa Lady's dream on their way to the lighthouse in Slumberland. The cloud kraken caught up to them in Salsa Lady's dream, and the other dreamers woke up in the real world. The scene changed and Philip and Carla were searching for Nemo in the real world. The boat began to tilt and Nemo was about to fall out and potentially drown. She was about to go through the final door when she exclaimed she didn't feel well. Her body was almost in the water by now. Eventually, Philip and Carla found Pig floating and then found the boat nearby. Meanwhile in Slumberland, Nemo was being carried by Flip, but she dropped the pearl. Flip went to grab the pearl as the cloud kraken closed in. It grabbed him, but Flip threw the pearl to Nemo in slow dramatic fashion, telling her to go. She grabbed the pearl and wished for Flip to wake, and he disappeared from the clutches of the cloud kraken. We could see the rippling effects of the new and woke Philip/Flip in the real world. He took off his life jacket and jumped in the water to save Nemo as she fell out the boat, still unconscious, and was about to drown. The scene changed and Nemo became brave and stood up to the cloud kraken, who attacked and vanished without hurting her. She then went to the lighthouse and met Agent Green, who advised her to give the pig a squeeze. The pig gave her another pearl when she did. She wished for her dad in the dream and she got to spend time with him, telling stories of her adventures. Meanwhile, in the waking world, Philip jumped in the water and saved her from drowning. The medical team tried to revive her. During this time, Peter told her there is nothing in the waking world she cannot do after crossing the Sea of Nightmare. After several attempts to wake her in the waking world, she says bye to Peter and wakes up. Philip/Flip was more excited than he had ever been. The scene cuts to Nemo getting picked up from school by Philip. Philip seems more alive and confident than ever, even flirting with Miss Aria and inviting her to go sailing. Nemo and Philip went sailing that evening. The scene cuts to Nemo in bed with her red ball of yarn, and Philip shows her his piece around his finger. This means they will find each other in Slumberland. Nemo closes her eyes to bring the movie to a suitable ending as the scene fades to black. Thanks for watching Movie Reruns. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment.